Hi, we're back again. I'm going to redo this Cesium Ion for GIS thing and do a better setup than last time and hope that this works better. So I'm in this new thing, this new project, and I want to make sure that even when I bring in the map, because it starts at 4326 as the CRS, when I first bring in my web map, as you can see, and I bring in a Google satellite, it jumps to 3857. And we want to make sure that it's at 4326. So I'm going to click on that and say OK. And it causes the map to be stretched out. That's called a projection. Now from there, I'm going to drop in Cesium Ion. But before I do, I want to set some things. The first thing is project settings, or properties rather. I'm going to go to, is it view settings? Yeah, and I'm going to set the project's full extent, but I'm not there yet. I got to find an extent. And I also want to make sure that I go to settings and options, and this I can do right now before setting that, and make sure that I set my size for the cache to a gigabyte, which I guess is 1024000. So, you've got kilobytes and megabytes and then gigabytes. And that's about, this is big. And I know that only because I asked ChatGPT and it said that I should make it a gigabyte. So we're increasing the network settings because it's reloading tiles with too small a cache. So by making this 102, and what will happen is you'll sometimes come in and you'll find it at this, which I think is a megabyte, and they always say add another 0. So there's 3 zeros out of the 12, the 1024. I think that basically is a kilobyte. This is a megabyte, and I think that is a gigabyte. Let me make sure here because I was looking it up and talking to it, and it says to add a 0, you can make it 256 megabytes, but this is a gigabyte. Oh, 3 zeros is a gigabyte. So this is the table. 1024 is 1024 kilobytes, which is a megabyte. And then 1024 with 1 0 is 10 megabytes. 1024 with 2 zeros is 100 megabytes. And 1024 with 3 zeros is a gigabyte or 1,000 megabytes. So it really will help if this is got 3 zeros behind it, and then you have a setting that will help you with this intensive tiling that's going to be going on. The next thing was then again to find your area, and I was showing a part of Tampa that one of our students was working in, and that part of Tampa, if I go and geocode this, let me see what I was using. I was using up in here, this is Amalie Arena, Tampa. So let's find that. I'll just spell it Amalie, I-E, and say Amalie Arena, Tampa, and it's going to come up in several options. And there's this one, Amalie Arena 401. Let's try that. And go back to QGIS. And there it is, and that little dot. So let's go down and look at it nice and close. Okay, so if that's the area and that cruise ship that we want to see in here in Cesium, then that's sort of what we want, is this area. And so that's where you go to project and properties and tell it that you want to set the project extent as the map canvas extent. That's that north, east, west, and south, and say OK. So now we're not going to overuse information like way out here and stuff. We want to use that extent. And having that, you should also remember from an earlier tutorial that it really helps to add a bookmark once you've found the view that you want. So we can add a bookmark here and call this Amelie Arena Tampa. My student chose that because there's green roofs around there. And then I'll put that in US projects, map canvas extent, and save it so we can always get to it down here. So if we were there in Morocco, we could just go right back to that. But that is what we're going to use as the project settings for that. So map canvas extent. Just make sure that you've set that before you get moving. And let's go and check once again let's check our settings to make sure that it's still a cache of 1 gigabyte. Yes, it is. Got the 3 zeros after 1024. Commit that to memory. And then there's a couple other things that chat has suggested up here. Set the working area and project properties. We did that. The cache too small. The 3D viewer limit, because it gives a 500 megabyte warning. You increase that in 3D view settings. So if I go to 3D view, so there's view, there's 3D map view. I can manage the 3D map views. I don't have any yet. So I can either add one from 3D view, or I can add it from here, which shows a 3D view. Create a new 3D view. And of course, it's not going to have any information that is 3D because we haven't put in a DEM and we don't have any buildings information in there. But it says that in settings, we should change the cache there. And here we have, let's see, is it under general? No. Is it under terrain? No. Lights, effects, camera span, and this. Show frames per second, map tile resolution, zoom levels. Hard to know then where you would set that, because these are all the settings that we know. Well, maybe we can't change that because it's telling us optimize in 3D view settings. Look for maximum cache size. Settings option 3D. So maybe we find it there. Let's see if settings options. This is probably where we need to look. Settings options 3D. But where is 3D? Data sources, cache content, map tools, digitizing, 3D. There it is. All right. So it's allowed memory per map layer of 500 megabytes. Then let's make it 1,000 megabytes. And hope that that will help us. Now that we've set this up, I'm going to save this project as, I'm going to save this as, this is climate tutorial. I'm going to save this as 3D view setup with Google 3D tiles and Cesium. And then I'll know that I've got that set up and I can play with it. So then what do you do? Well, you bring in Cesium and drag that, drag Cesium. Where'd Cesium go? How could Cesium just disappear? There it is. So Cesium, he keeps dragging like that. All right, so we go like that. I have to log in and allow. Now I should be able to go back and take Cesium, and it's still not letting me drag it in, which is a pain. I'll just bring in Google photorealistic tiles. That's what I'll bring in from it. And it's going to use the default token. And there's my 3D realistic tiles. They come in, give them a while, and you'll see that they came in because if I turn off this satellite and they haven't come in, then you wouldn't see anything. If I go like this, ain't nothing happening, they still haven't come in yet. So the thing is frozen, and you gotta wait because it takes a while. It's a lot of data that the 3D tiles are pulling in. Let it load. Be patient. And now it's coming in, and if I click on it, it'll build. It'll build. There it is. It's building it up. We know this is not the satellite because satellite is unchecked. If we uncheck it, it disappears. We put the satellite. There's the satellite view. But if we check that, that is the 3D tile view. How do you know? A couple different ways. One way is to look at the symbology for, and let it finish loading. It's always updating. Every move you make, it's going to start doing something else. So, yes, so you click on this, assuming it's going to let me, double click on it to get to the symbology, and you are looking at something that's textured. If you look at it as a wireframe and say apply, then it should build it up as a wireframe. And those are all mesh models, which as you will see in Blender, is our vertices at the edge of each different quad or triangle, and then they have z-axis information, which you can't see on a 2D map, but you are looking at the wireframe there. And if you use the texture, you can see how the texture maps are mapped onto these. Those colors there are texture maps. But we're going to be looking at it as a textured map, and that's what that looks like. So how do you see it in 3D? Well, you go to your view, to 3D map views, and create a new map, or just go over here to your map and it is going to start loading. Now, where we set the project extent is that white box, which is awkward because it's really trying to load all of Tampa. As you can see, all of Tampa is there. In fact, the whole world is there. And we wanted it to just show this information, but now we have this box, this white box there. And when we look at this, and we look at the terrain, flat terrain, there's DEM, but we don't have an elevation. We can use Google Satellite for the information. That will help us. All right, so we're using, for the flat terrain, Google Satellite, and now you have this great 3D map that's come in from Google Tiles, just like in Cesium Ion. It's a whole lot better. And when you have that, you can come in to the animation and set a keyframe at 0 seconds. Should already have one. That's whatever that one is. It'll say it's already there. Yeah, it's already there. But then you can start moving through your map and say that at this number of seconds here, we actually can zoom in on the cruise ship and maybe tilt the map a little bit. Say we're doing something on sustainable tourism, and then add a keyframe, and then come in later on, and maybe we want to continue zooming. It's very awkward. It's hard to do. You really have to spend some time. It's just like with Cesium you were playing with in class. But if you really want to do it, you can do it. Move around like this maybe, and make that into a keyframe. And then continue to your next view, whatever that is. And then, like I say, it's a bit of a pain. Now, one of the things that it's supposed to be able to do in the 3D view, so that you can do this a little more easily, is if I make it smaller and I can even dock it, so now it's dockable, and I can put it in there and maybe bring this down so I have it. Maybe I'll get rid of the processing toolbox entirely, and whatever results viewer is, I'll get rid of that. You should be able to move around in here and have it update. But to do that, you probably need to get to advanced and say something like show camera view, map tile resolution, terrain, vertical scale. It's not tied. Skirt height, offset, lights, effects, camera, follows 2D map view. So you can do that under camera in Skybox and see if when you do this, although it seems to really be slowing it down, it will update, as you can see over there. It just takes forever. So you might not want to play with this because of how long it currently takes. There it is for our other keyframe. I keep going forward and I zoom in here, then I'm going to have this update issue. And then wait. So yeah, probably you're better off not putting that on. Show visible camera in 2D view. We can try that, but I don't see where that is. So you'll have these issues there, and
never seen lava.
And yet, if we want to zoom into the Amelie Center,
How come we've never seen lava?
and look around there.
Daddy,
Yes, Nye?
how come we've never seen lava?
Because we've never gone to a place where there is lava. We haven't gone to a volcano.
Volcanoes have lava in them, but I'm talking about we've never seen a hole in the ground full with lava.
No, we sure haven't. So here's these green roofs.
Daddy,
and
where?
with a swimming pool
Daddy,
on
where
top of it
could we find
that I want to get into and make that into a keyframe. Yes, Nye?
Daddy, where could we find the hole in the ground filled with lava?
A lot of them are in Iceland and some are in Japan. I saw one in Guatemala. And then maybe move down a little bit more.
And why haven't I seen some of them?
Because you haven't traveled to those places. And there's another green roof that we can come right on into. So look at the green roofs and the solar panels in downtown Tampa, and then make another keyframe. And then
Daddy,
when we finally
where's our RV in there?
pull out, our RV is not in this map. We can
Daddy, this map is a Florida.
add this,
where
and
our
then we
RV
can
is.
say,
Daddy, I think our RV is right here.
I think it's right there. I don't know about that. I'm going to put on loop, and I'm going to show that when we play this, then we have these Google 3D tiles,
Daddy,
and we have a really interesting animation that we've made that can be played and stored. So there's a lot of fun to be had with this using Cesium. Hold on. Ow! The sun is eating my ear, and I'm recording. So, and then it starts again, the animation. So we can obviously make this full screen if we want to undock it, and oops. Although I have somehow docked it to the point where it's kind of trapped in there. And then you have this issue of how long it takes to recreate in there. But let's go look at it one more time. If you wanted to make a movie, you'd make it full screen, and then you would play this. And I don't have in here that old animation. And you can see it's reaching the limits of its tiling memory. But that's because that is a new view. If you look at view map views, I have 3 of them, and I may want to manage them and get rid of this one here, move it, and see what number 2 looks like. If I go to view map view number 2 and turn that on, that's the one that was docked. I'm trying to undock it here. There we go. And this is the one that I had the animation. So you can have many. Oops, it keeps docking itself. And that's because of this thing here. Right there. Undock it. There we go. Now you can get a full screen and we can hit play and get our animation going like that. So that's pretty cool. And you can save that animation over here as a scene, and you can save it as a JPEG movie. I believe that renders out every frame of the movie. So if I did HAF region test movie, so I make this Tampa movie, 30 frames per second, and it's saving as a JPEG in that output directory. It's going to export each of those frames so that you can put them in some kind of video. So let's look at that for a second. Almost done. It happens pretty quickly. It's a short animation. There we go. And if I then go into folder, it might even tell me where it is. It's not telling me where it is. It says it's done. And I go to let's see, where did it save it out as? Saved it out. I'm not sure where it saved it out. Let me see. If I went to export, I need to look again. Shapefile exports is where it went to. So if I go to my shapefile exports, then I should have either I have a bazillion different pictures or it's all in one folder. I think it is in one folder. I think it's called 3D Tiles, Google. That's not that one, so that's empty. All right, hold on. It says Tampa Movie. So there should be something called Tampa Movie. Shapefile exports and Tampa Movie. Where are you, Tampa Movie? There's Tampa Movie. All right. This, yes, it has all the different frames in it. And you'd have to bring them into a video editor if you wanted to play them, because as you can see, as I click through them, I guess I can do that by clicking on it and turning it into a slideshow. But it only plays if you animate the things. I'm clicking on it now to get through every frame of the movie. But that's how it exports a movie, as individual frames that then get brought in. But pretty cool that it does that. Somewhat satisfying. All right. And then get our remove. And you can then use these, of course, as static images in anything that you like. So that's how that would work in terms of exporting, because there's no way to tell it to export as a finished movie that I know of. The other thing is when you go to movie,
Daddy, don't.
That just is setting the 3D extension.
Daddy,
there is a way also to export.
Daddy,
yeah, you can export as a 3D scene.
Daddy,
in that just we'll see where that goes. Shapefile exports. Let's just see what it does when it exports the scene.
Is this a tank?
Oh, and it quit my program. So memory problems. So that we'll have to check later on. This looks like a tank, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a tank.
All right, well, I guess that's it for now for Cesium, now that the computer has crashed, and we'll resume later on.